Okay, sure. My name's Kate Sharaf, Sharaf, as in Frank. I'm one of the leaders with Stand on Every Corner PDX, and then I'm also an organizer with Indivisible Oregon, but that's not part of this protest. It's just separate.
So, give me news. What do you consider news? What has happened lately that most either concerns you or gladdens
you? Yeah. I mean, so you're asking what I'm concerned about or what's news?
Yeah.
I'm really concerned about, the police brutality that we're seeing against protesters every night. I think it's really alarming that, we saw it with folks at the Justice Center. We saw it before the feds were here. We saw it after the feds left. We're now seeing it all over the east side that, there's protests and there's often a sizable group of folks there and police are pretty indiscriminate in their use of force against everyone, regardless of what behavior they're actually exhibiting. There's not any, doesn't seem like there's any effort to distinguish who is taking actions that they consider to be, it seems like they just consider the act of showing up at a Black Lives Matter protest that is advertised as direct action to be actionable for them to beat people and mace people and tear gas entire neighborhoods, and I find that really, really inappropriate and just alarming and disturbing. And obviously we're not shocked to see that that's not happening here when we're a bunch of people standing on a corner in Southwest Portland. That's not their MO to come tear gas us, but that doesn't mean that we're not concerned about it. I went downtown when the feds were here, and a little bit after they left, but not too much. My experience was more with the aggression from the feds than from the Portland police, because that was who, it kind of seemed like the Portland police were like, oh great, we can step back and let the feds take all the heat for the brutality, but it was pretty much the same playbook. And, it was really, really disturbing. I was there one night downtown when there were literally thousands of people there, non-violently protesting, standing in the street. There was one or two people that were trying to provoke the police and provoke the feds and maybe threw a firework. Something that, honestly would have been easy for them to ignore, or maybe they could have handled it in another way to de-escalate. But they just tear gassed. They released tear gas, and they pretty much indiscriminately tear gassed a crowd of thousands and thousands of protesters, many of whom were there with just fabric face coverings. And, I had a respirator, but I still got pretty affected. And I had friends that were there in fabric masks that were feeling terrible for days afterwards. And, literally none of us did anything even remotely provocative or instigating anything. And so...
Do you remember what time of night it was?
It was 11.
Yeah.
And it went right from being... It was like... I had taken a video on my phone at 10:45 of everybody holding up their phone lights, and it was like this very peaceful, calm, nonviolent protest with speakers, and then as soon as the speakers ended, it was like minor provocation happening over at the courthouse, and then all of a sudden they tear gassed. And I went back to my car, and then I had to circle back to pick up friends that had carpooled with me who didn't get out as fast as us, who had gotten more seriously tear gassed. So it was 3 or 4 blocks away, and I had taken off my goggles because I was driving, and I had my windows open because I was trying to keep the car ventilated. And I had a serious tear gas reaction because of the amount of tear gas that had drifted 4 or 5 blocks from the courthouse. So it's just really disturbing the way that they just...
And what's that doing to the people that live in that neighborhood?
Yeah.
The wildlife, the fish, wash down the storm drain.
Well, and and it's the only difference I haven't really ever been out on the nights when it's been the Portland police, but I've been following it and reading about it and watching live streams and stuff, and it seems like the only difference is Portland police make an announcement before they tear gas you. You know,
They declare a riot.
they declare a riot, which is like, what does that even mean? They're not charging anyone with rioting.
Yeah, it's
And the
just a
DA has
legally-
said he's not pressing charges on anyone who's not, actually destroying property or committing acts of violence, which is almost very, very few of the people there, you know. And it's like, you know, the Portland police seem to think carrying a shield is like a sign that you're violent, when like it's literally a protective device against the violence they're inflicting on protesters.
Yeah.
It's like they're proving their own point.
And there they are standing behind armor and armored vehicles and
Yeah, it's like, what does that say about your intent? You're wearing riot gear and carrying batons and you know, kind of less than lethal munitions that you're shooting at people. It's just terrible. I mean, and I don't know. I mean, it's so counterproductive, and you know, I just feel like the police don't seem to be learning anything about these protests, and like, we're protesting police brutality and you're responding with more police brutality. You're only proving the point.
Textbook example.
You're only proving the point. And I feel like Ted Wheeler has done like a terrible job of trying to actually have any leadership with the police department. They don't seem to listen to him or care, and he's just kind of buying into their propaganda. And I find it so disappointing that, you know, they're giving mouth service to like hearing what these protests are about at the same time that they're clearly not, because, you know, just like the whole point is to stop indiscriminately brutalizing people, especially in this case when people are exercising their First Amendment rights. And it seems like the police aren't even really trying to, like, they're more interested in beating people up at this point because they know the DA is not going to press charges, which is just really, you know, I feel like they're radicalizing people because it's so blatant how terrible their behavior is, and then, you know, there's things like right-wing people coming in and shooting guns out of their cars or throwing pipe bombs, and the police are basically like, well, what could we do? You know, oh, it's out of our hands. We couldn't possibly investigate unless somebody makes a report. It's like, well, what? Like, do your job. There's videos online. There's like evidence. There's people taking videos of the right-wing people, I think, posted a video of themselves shooting a gun out of their car. So like, go arrest them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, just like, yeah, you're proving our point. You're proving our point. You're not here to serve the people. You're brutalizing people. And then when there's actual crimes against citizens of our city, you're kind of throwing up your hands. And it's like this retaliation against the communities that are protesting them, where like for so long they said they wouldn't investigate Shayendia's murder. Have you been following this? Shayendia was killed in a domestic violence situation. She's a young woman. I believe she's 18. And the family said, we know who killed her. It was her boyfriend. And the police said, we don't have the resources to investigate because we're dealing with these, you know, protests. And so it's like retaliation. It's like retaliation against the communities that are protesting them.
Police strike.
Yeah.
This will show you.
It's a work slowdown. Yeah. And it's like, no, all you're proving is our point. That, like, you know, the police are not serving our communities, they're brutalizing our communities.
Floating in their power. That's what
yeah, and it's like, you know what, you actually do serve us, and we're going to keep working. This is what we mean by defund, is that, you know, you should be serving the communities that you're responsible to. Yeah. And we should find other ways of dealing with the problems that police are not suited to doing. And if you're not able to serve the community that you are responsible to, then we'll take away your funding, because we're not interested in paying someone's salary just to have you beat us and tear gas us. And if refuse to investigate murders of black people. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, that's an idea.
Yeah, what an idea. So that's what I'm thinking about. And you know, I'm glad that we're here. You know, I know that we had a lot more people. Earlier, but I think that doesn't concern me. I think it's really great to have a huge turnout a couple times, and I think it's really great to have an ongoing turnout.
You know what I've noticed a lot more Black Lives Matter signs up
in windows
in the neighborhood. Yeah, not everybody come out here in the heat.
Yeah, not everybody can come every week, and even if they could, not everybody's going to, and that's fine. I think that it's really great that some people show up on a consistent basis, and you can hear all the cars going by and showing the support. And the thing I really love about Stand on Every Corner is I think it's really important to have centralized protests, and I also think it's really important to have these kinds of neighborhood protests where people see that it's not just some band of random folks downtown or at the East Precinct. It's people throughout all of our neighborhoods who care about these issues and who are going to keep the pressure on and keep standing up. And it's also just, there's folks here that come out to these protests that would not be able to go to a bigger protest, that they can't bring their little kids, it's too late at night, or they really need to make sure they can keep their distance, they're in a high risk group. So
gotta watch their health.
Yeah,
they're spraying chemicals on people.
Yeah, so and just being able to keep a safe distance. So I think it's really great. I think it's important, and I think I'm so supportive of Black-led events, and I really encourage people to seek out and support Black-led events. But I also think, Portland is an overwhelmingly white city, and if we wait for there to be Black-led events to show up, then there's not going to be enough attention to these issues. So white people need to lead things and show up too.
That is so true and funny. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think especially in a lot of neighborhoods like Southwest Portland, we shouldn't put the onus on organizing everything on Black people. I think it's really important to follow the lead of Black organizers and listen to what they're saying, so we're not co-opting their message or distracting from what they're saying. But I think we need to show up and organize ourselves as well.
Absolutely.
I'm voting for Sarah for mayor. I've been really disappointed in Ted Wheeler. I know there's a write-in campaign for Teresa Rayford, and I just don't think write-in campaigns are usually successful, and I want Ted gone. So that's why I'm voting for Sarah, and I think that she, I agree with her on a lot of issues, and I think that she's offered a vision that focuses on climate and focuses on community and, focuses on making Portland work for working folks, and I think those are all really important to me, so that's why I'm supporting her. I'm part of Indivisible Oregon, and we're doing a lot of work nationally. I think that the primary was kind of a mess, and we came out of it with the nominee that we have, and I think that Biden is worlds better than Trump, and that I really hope that everyone is going to not only obviously vote.
That's not a bad slogan. Biden is worlds better than Trump.
I mean, I'm really.
And it's undisputed.
It's undisputed. I mean, it's like, I have never believed in the both sides are the same rhetoric in any election that's been said, and that's been an issue, but it's like, it could not be more crystal clear on this election. Whatever the reason is that we ended up with Biden, that's who the nominee is, and I support him wholeheartedly. I'm excited about Kamala, and I think, I think that we
was a good move.
Yeah, and I think that we need to, we need to safeguard vote by mail. I think that, honestly, I think the reason why Trump is fighting against vote by mail and trying to destroy the Postal Service is not just because he thinks that Democrats are more likely to vote by mail, which there's no evidence that Democrats vote more by vote by mail. I think it's that he does not want there to be a paper trail, and that he's counting on the election to be hacked. And I think that's all the more reason for us to focus on protecting the Postal Service and safeguarding vote by mail and encouraging folks to vote by mail across the country, and just making sure that they vote early or they drop their ballots off to make sure that any shenanigans with the Post Service don't affect their ability to vote. So, but I think having, there's so many problems right now with election security and voting machines that I think getting a paper ballot, which is what you get with vote by mail, is people, in Oregon, obviously we all have that already, but in other states, I think people should not be fazed by the messing with the Postal Service. They should still vote by mail and just drop it off in person. And, I also think there's a lot of good work to be done.
I think my battery just ran out.
Your what?
My battery ran out. But it just happened.
Well, that's good. Okay.
Okay. I think
that's not pretty good. We got a lot.
I think we got a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. I will have to commend Allie for saying, okay.